All right, we're gonna waste a little bit more time and just go over the New Year's 2025 show and just everything in the UI that made it slightly easier for me. Uh, Anybody that's looked at the blog would know that for reasons completely unrelated to this interface, this was a complete failure. But the UI was adequate, so we'll go through that. So this is the layout. All of the shot timings, I think I've explained that in another video. Those lines indicate when shots happen in the cake. It's an automatic process. Once you give it the YouTube video, it'll go through and identify that. So a cool thing here is with this 3 minutes of mayhem, I was able to hear with the red, this is a red fan that it does, sync that up with mortar fire on both sides, like a two shot. So that's the left and the right 58 rack um, at a certain spot there. So able to line those up, super cool because these were, I think, red shots. These were green shots. That turned out really well. A lot of the fixed timing worked really well, just because you can, select all of these fellas here, and oh, I'm in main still. Jeez, let's go in the editor. So we were able to select a lot of these guys here and say, for all of these guys, chain their timing and have them all be zero point 0.5, 0.5 seconds apart, and that will fix them at a certain timing relative to each other. You can also kind of hijack it to use to just have them be 0 seconds apart and fire them at the same time. Or you can just painstakingly slide them around and keep zooming in, hoping that they're at roughly the same spot. But yeah, going through, like I said, the shot timing stuff was really handy. Like we could have that, crack right when the Azure Alert fired its first little burst. Those second mortar shots would always land right on it. Cool effect there, and then yeah, really nice. I think the rack editor was really nice. These worked out really well, just to be able to see, all that stuff. The rack editor is fantastic. Just being able to go into here and I want a shell here and just go by color. That made it really easy because for certain things I want this to be a red, white, and blue 3-shot. I don't always know off the top of my head what shells I have and what colors they are, so just them being cataloged is so nice, and cataloging them is so easy. It's just, inventory shells, paste the description from a website in here, given that each line is a different shell, and it'll just do it for you. It's just you get this just in a click. So nice. So that was nice. The fusing was nice. The timing was pretty accurate as far as when the shot timing was and when they lined up, just because those are the calculations done with, you define what the spacing is for the tubings and all this stuff. So between that and the burn rate of the fuses per inch, it's not hard to figure all that out. So really nice there. Uh, what the really nice thing is was just the loadout extraction thing here. So just being able to print these out, export it as a PDF was nice because we just printed these out and knew for the left rack here what each needed to be hooked up. This will get explained below the rack stuff, but just knowing that 16 needed to be a strobing willow, 10 needed to be a hot hot hot, etc., etc. Really handy there. Going down to the racks, this was a really nice thing here because this is said, when we went to do racks, you just lay this out and like, all right, well, the top left tube needs a Diablo number 3, the red wave with crackling star, and we need to join them with a blue fuse. So just being able to do that, and then this also says we need to connect this to receiver 117 Q1, or etc. So it's just really nice to lay that out and just be able to just burn through that. This I didn't use as much. This describes every fuse in it and what length it needs to be. So this says the length of this first blue fuse needs to be 7.5 inches, and for a 1 inch safety margin. And it says what shells it connects to. So this would be that top left one there. not super helpful. It's just easier to look at this and just eyeball it, add that 1 inch there. So again, with the racks and just all those fuses, I really like this because most of my stuff is in a different area of the house. It's more or less a storage battery, so it's nice to just give myself an items to pack list. So here I could just go and say, great, I have one of these, I have two of these, and just I put notches right here. And it was just nice to have a little, I don't know, manifest just to make sure I'd packed everything. Just really handy to have. So happy with this page here. As far as the receivers and stuff, solid. You know, being able to, none of them are on, so this isn't working. I have separate videos on that, but just being able to see them on and seeing, you know, the continuity and the health of the receiver and all this stuff was really nice. Um, just all of these things kind of being read for so many cues taught me a lot about the hardware itself and the fact that I hate push connectors in the cold because doing 70 of those just with cold fingers was not fun. But yeah, that's kind of just a rundown of some of the stuff that made that easy, and I think that made it visually, in some ways, go well. Again, the shot timing stuff, huge win there, just because I think that lacking that I don't want to have like 100 different, you know, single queue comments or mines or whatever to fire off. So it really helps make cakes and those cheaper 1.4G consumer level stuff. It makes them feel a little bit more professional being able to sync them like that and not just do end to end. And you know, your options are simultaneous layering or yeah, just basically butting them end to end or having them run simultaneous and them kind of questionably fighting each other. But that this was a really nice kind of idea there. So yeah, that's that.